Paraphilia. Paraphilia, para means next, philia means love. It is a condition in which there is intense, persistent and preferential sexual interest other than sexual interest in genital stimulation, and the sexual gratification is obtained without sexual intercourse. Previously, paraphilia was known as sexual perversion. Paraphilias are generally established in adolescence, usually before age of 18, and are present up to some extent in every person of a sound mind. Richard Kraft Ebing, a Viennese psychiatrist, compiled the paraphilias in his book Psychopathia Sexualis. In his book Forensic and Medico-Legal Aspects of Sexual Crimes and Unusual Sexual Practices, Dr. Anil Agrawal discussed unusual sexual practices. Most common paraphilia is sadomasochism, first MC, is greater than exhibitionism, second MC, which is greater than transvesticism, third MC. Paraphilic disorder. It is a paraphilia that is currently causing distress or impairment or harm to the individual. Actually, these are psychosexual disorders or behaviors classified as DSM-5 and ICD-11 in these books, which are characterized by repetitive, intense and persistent sexual fantasies or urges and abnormal sexual practices using 1. Unusual non-human objects, for example shoe, undergarment, animal or dead people, and 2. Unusual body parts, for example foot and axillae, and 3. Unusual activities, voyeurism or exhibitionism. Such acts, imagination or behavior are unusual and abnormal within society and are biologically undesirable. A person who indulges in such acts is known as person with paraphilic disorder, old name sexual pervert or deviate, who sometimes may commit crime. It leads to the mental state of such person accused must be determined by a psychiatrist. Nearly all persons with a paraphilic disorder are male and are heterosexual. These paraphilias are relatively uncommon in psychiatric practice, and most cases come to attention when there are forensic issues following an arrest. Paraphilic disorders. Paraphilic disorders, ICD-11, DSM-5 given: exhibitionistic disorder, transvestite disorder, voyeuristic disorder, fetishistic disorder, froteuristic disorder, pedophilic disorder, coercive sexual sadism disorder, sexual masochism disorder, other specified paraphilic disorders like zoophilia, telephone scatologia, necrophilia, coprophilia, clismophilia, urophilia, unspecified paraphilic disorders. Major paraphilias. 1. Algolagnia. Algo means pain, lagnia means craving or a lust. It includes the following: active algolagnia known as sadism, passive algolagnia known as masochism, sadomasochism, bondage, exhibitionism, transvestism, voyeurism, fetishism, froteurism, pedophilia or pederasty. Heading sadism. Sadism is also known as active algolagnia. Algos is pain, lagnia is lust. It is a type of paraphilia in which a person called a sadist obtains a sexual gratification by inflicting pain, suffering or humiliation on another person. Sadism is seen most commonly in man, especially serial killers. The sadist obtains sexual gratification by torturing and humiliating the sex partner by beating, biting cheeks, breasts and nipples, cutting, whipping, burning by cigarette or hot wax, inserting articles, that is bottle, candle, sticks, into the vagina or anus. Sade was a French revolutionary politician, philosopher and writer. He was very infamous for his crimes and erotic writings. His best known work is novel Justine. The characters in his writings suffered from sadism. He was incarcerated in various prisons and an insane asylum for 32 years of his life. On Easter Sunday of 1768, he procured sexual services of a woman, Rose Keller, a widow beggar who approached him for alms. He told her she could make money by working for him as a housekeeper. At his home, Sade ripped her clothes off, threw her on a bed, tied her by 4 limbs. Then he whipped her, made various incisions on her body into which he poured hot wax, and then beat her. He repeated this process 7 to 8 times when she finally escaped by climbing out of a second-floor window and running away. The term sadism was coined by Richard von Kraft-Ebing. DSM-5 uses the phrase sexual sadism disorder, which refers to recurrent and intense sexual arousal from physical or psychological suffering of another person as manifested by fantasies, urges or behaviors. Sadism is rarely found in a pure state. It is usually found to be associated with masochism. The combination of sadism and masochism is known as sadomasochism, in which one type, either sadism or masochism, dominates over the other. Sadism is generally done with a consenting masochist. Causes: organic brain disorders, for example, gliomas, sociopathic personality, endocrine abnormalities, bad past experiences, substance abuse. These are the causes. Punishment: if sadism is done without consent of masochist, the sadist may be charged under 323 IPC, punishment for voluntarily causing hurt, 325 IPC, punishment for voluntarily causing grievous hurt, and 326 IPC, voluntarily causing grievous hurt by dangerous means. Dippoldism: it is something related to sadism, obtaining sexual gratification by abusing, beating or whipping children, supposedly named after Andreas Dippold, a German tutor who in 1903 was convicted of beating his pupil, a child named Heinz Koch, to death. Some extreme forms of sadism are lust murder, necrophilia and necrophagia. Lust murder. Lust murder is also known as erotophonophilia. Lust murder may be considered an extreme form of sadism in which the sadist crosses his limits and kills his sexual partner, usually a female child. Here the sadist obtains extreme sexual gratification by the act of killing or murdering his sexual partner. This act becomes equivalent of coitus accompanied by erection, ejaculation and orgasm. So, lust murder may be considered an extreme form of sadism. Every murder committed during a sexual act is not a lust murder because such murder may be the result of anger, jealousy or revenge. Seen most commonly in males, especially serial killers, the sadist has pornographic material and alcohols. Characteristics of a typical lust murder: periodic outbreaks due to sudden outburst of sexual desire. Mental disorder: in true lust murder, the sadist is usually suffering from a mental disease. The behavior of sadist is usually normal until the next outbreak. Choosing a victim: first of all, these people choose a victim and then start to stalk her. Sexual intercourse and ejaculation with the dying or injured person. Killing: cutting or stabbing breasts or genitalia with sucking or licking of wounds. Sometimes there is a desire to drink the blood, vampirism, and eat the flesh. After killing, the sadist may perform sexual intercourse with the dead body, necrophilia, or mutilate the body, suck the blood, and eat the body parts, especially sex organs, necrophagia. Anthropophagoglagnia may be found in such sadists. There is sexual attraction to raping and then eating the victim. Sadist consumes another individual of the same species as food. Necrophilia and necrophagia. Necrophilia, necros is corpse, philia is love. The person gets sexual pleasure by having sexual intercourse with dead people. Such person is known as necrophiliac. The offence is usually committed on a newly buried corpse or a body awaiting burial. The decomposition, foul smell, discoloration and coldness stimulate a necrophiliac. Necrophilia may be found in an extreme form of sadism. In 10-tier classification, classes 1 to 10, has been given by Professor Anil Agrawal in his book Necrophilia. Class 1, role player. The person asks his or her partner to act as dead at the time of sexual intercourse. Class 2, romantic necrophilia. Necrophile. The person preserves the dead body of his or her spouse, mummifies it and sleeps with it. Class 3, necrophilic fantasizer. The person visits cemeteries and masturbates. Class 4, tactile necrophile. A person gets arousal by touching sexual parts of a dead body. Class 5, fetishistic necrophile. The person preserves a part of the dead body, that is breast and penis, and keeps with him or her. Class 6, necromutilomaniac. The person mutilates the dead body and masturbates over it. Class 7, opportunistic necrophile. On getting opportunity, the person performs sexual intercourse with the dead body. Class 8, regular necrophile. The person digs up the dead body from the graveyard and performs sexual intercourse. Class 9, homicidal necrophiliac. The person kills to have sexual intercourse. Class 10. Exclusive necrophile. The person can perform sexual intercourse only with dead, not with living. Punishment for necrophilia, section 297 IPC, 1 year or fine or both. Examples of famous necrophiliacs: Victor Ardisson, French grave digger, grave robber, necrophiliac, who had sex with over 100 corpses. He is known as Vampire of Mui. He mutilated and decapitated many bodies. He was arrested in 1901 upon multiple charges of exhumation and violation of dead bodies. He was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in a psychiatric hospital. Henry Lee Lucas, American serial killer. He had sexual intercourse with dead bodies of several of his victims, one of whom was his girlfriend Becky Powell. When asked why he killed the woman before having sex with them, he answered, "I like peace and quiet." Jeffrey Dahmer, American serial killer and sexual offender. He murdered 17 men. He used to go to gay bar and offered them to drink beer with him at his home, where he would drug them and then strangle and stab them to death. He would have oral and anal sex with these cadavers. Then he would cut the body with hacksaw. He would pose cadavers in sexually explicit poses and take photographs. He would keep the heads and genitalia at a secret place and muzzles in refrigerator to eat later on. Rest of the body parts were boiled with chemicals before being washed down the drain. He invited another man to his house and attempted to restrain him, but he escaped and informed the police. Police caught him in his home on 22nd July 1991. He was beaten to death by Christopher Scarver, an inmate in Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, 1994. Necrophagia. Necrophagia, necro means corpse, phagia to eat, is also known as anthropophagy. In another extreme form of sadism, in which the sadist, especially a male, not only kills his sex partner but also mutilates the body, sucks the blood and eats the body parts, especially the sex organs. Masochism. Masochism is also known as passive algolagnia. It is the opposite of sadism. It is a type of paraphilia in which the person called masochist obtains sexual gratification by having pain inflicted upon self by another person. Masochist gets pleasure from being bitten, abused, tortured, humiliated or dominated by his sexual partner. The term masochism was coined by Richard von Krafft-Ebing, Austrian psychiatrist, author of a classic text, Psychopathia Sexualis, and has been derived from the name Masoch. Full name Leopold von Sacher-Masoch was an Austrian author and novelist known for his novel Venus in Furs that dealt with highly masochistic themes. As a stimulus to write, he liked to be whipped by his wife. Apparently, he pressured his first wife, Aurora von Rumelin, to live out the experiences of his book, which she did. Following his death, she wrote about her experiences in her memoir, My Life Confessions. Sexual masochism disorder is a term used in DSM-5. It refers to the recurrent and intense sexual arousal from the act of being humiliated, beaten, bound or otherwise made to suffer, as manifested by fantasies, urges or behaviors, more commonly found in males. Autoerotic or sexual asphyxia is a type of masochism in which the person creates a state of hypoxia, either by strangulation or partial hanging to get orgasm. After experiencing the orgasm, the constricting force around the neck is released. There are many cases in which deaths have occurred by accident. Sadomasochism heading. Sadomasochism, sadism and masochism are the types of paraphilia. Actually, these paraphilias are rarely found in a pure state. They are usually found as a combination with one type dominant over the other. When sadism is found to be along with masochism, the condition is known as sadomasochism. Here a person who obtains sexual gratification by inflicting pain or suffering on his partner also obtains sexual gratification by having pain or suffering inflicted upon self. It is most common paraphilia. Sadomasochism may be also acted with bondage, that is, sexual pleasure is obtained by tying, binding or restraining of a person. Both terms sadism and masochism were used first by a German psychiatrist, Richard Freiherr von Krafft-Ebing, in his study Psychopathia Sexualis. Sigmund Freud noted that both entities, sadism and masochism, were found in the same individual and thus he combined the two into a single entity, sadomasochism. Next heading, bondage. Bondage is a type of paraphilia in which sexual gratification is obtained by tying, binding and restraining of a person. The active partner can derive visual pleasure from seeing their partner tied up, and the restrained person can derive tactile pleasure from feeling of helplessness and immobility. Bondage is frequently acted with sadomasochism. MLA. Accidental fatal injuries or even death may occur. In case of death, the accused will be charged for culpable homicide. BDSM, a compound acronym, has been derived from the terms bondage and discipline, dominance and submission. Exhibitionism heading. It is the second most common type of paraphilia. A person obtains sexual gratification by exposing genitals to children or the person of opposite sex. Charles Lessegue was the first to describe exhibitionism as a disorder in 1877. Type of exhibitionism: anasirma, lifting of the skirt when not wearing underwear to expose genitals; mooning, displaying bare buttocks by pulling down of trousers and underwear. The act is most often done for the sake of humor, disparagement or mockery. Streaking, act of running naked through a public place. The intent is not usually sexual but for shock value. Mark Roberts, well-known streaker at the Hong Kong Sevens rugby tournament. His streaking began when he saw a news report about a female streaker in rugby sevens game in Hong Kong. After a bet in a bar, he went naked in front of the crowd himself on the next day. He has done this as of 2008 565 times in 23 countries. Most common in males and most of them are psychopathic. The patients treated for Parkinsonism with carbidopa, levodopa and paraglide show increased tendency of exhibitionism. MLI, section 268, 290, 291 of IPC. Public nuisance, punishment under 200 rupees. Section 294 IPC, obscene act and songs. Punishment 3 months or fine or both. Section 509 IPC, word, gesture or act intended to insult the modesty of a woman. Punishment is 1 year or fine or both. Next, transvesticism. It is the third most common paraphilia. Transvesticism, eonism. Latin trans, opposite, vestiaire, that is clothing. A person transvestite obtains sexual pleasure by wearing the clothes of opposite sex. The term transvesticism was coined by Magnus Hirschfeld. Transvesticism is also known as eonism, after a French man, Chevalier d'Eon Beaumont, who was a spy and spent 33 years of his life as a woman. These people may be homosexuals with no genital abnormality. They have strong desire to become the members of opposite sex, and they also seek surgery for anatomical alteration. The subjects not only wear garments of opposite sex, but would also desire to be identified and accepted in the society as a member of opposite sex. It is usually found in males who obtain sexual gratification by wearing female dress. They also dress like females to attract male active sodomites. Transsexualist, who has a desire to become a member of opposite sex and seeks surgery for anatomical alteration, generally associated with autoerotic asphyxia. Term cisvestism means when a person obtains sexual pleasure by wearing the clothes of same sex but inappropriate to the individual's position or status, that is cowboy outfit or a biker leathers. Infantilism or auto-nepiophilia or adult baby syndrome. A person obtains sexual arousal by acting and dressing like an infant or being treated as an infant by one's sexual partner. The person may like to drink from infant bottle. He may like to wear diapers. Next heading, voyeurism. Voyeurism is to see or observe. It is also known as scoptophilia or scopophilia or peeping Tom, commonly seen in males. Sexual pleasure is obtained by a person, exclusively male, by observing the other person while undressing, bathing or doing sexual intercourse without the other person's knowledge. A male voyeur is sometimes called peeping Tom, named after a person, a tailor, who watched a Lady Godiva during her naked ride on horseback and was struck blind or jag. And 354C IPC defines voyeurism as watching or capturing the image of a woman engaging in a private act in circumstances where she would usually have expectation of not being observed by the perpetrator. Private act means where the victim's genitals, posterior or breasts are exposed, or the same are covered in underwear, or victim is using lavatory, or the victim is doing a sexual act. Punishment section 354C of IPC. First timer 1 to 3 years plus fine cognizable and bailable. Second time and repeater 3 to 7 years and fine cognizable and non-bailable. Video voyeurism. Someone engaging in private acts may be recorded, for example, camera fitted in toilet, washroom or changing room. Other related terms, mixoscopia. It is a form of voyeurism in which a person observes other couples performing sexual intercourse. Troilism. It is an extreme form of voyeurism in which a person shares his wife with another and observes the act from a hidden place or intercourse between three people, either two males, one female or vice versa. Next, fetishism. As for DSM-5, it is a type of paraphilia almost exclusively seen in males. French facere, to make, Portuguese feitiço, that is fetish, any material object made to have a magical power. The person obtains sexual gratification by using or thinking about an inanimate, non-living objects or any part of the body. The inanimate object or a situation of interest is called the fetish. The person is known as a fetishist. Sexual gratification by inanimate objects. The inanimate objects used by a fetishist are female undergarments, bra, panties, sanitary pads, petticoats, stockings, handkerchief, towel, shoes, sandals, flowers, latex, leather. Picture of inanimate object. Such fetishist usually steals such inanimate objects. He may be suffering from kleptomania. He looks, feels, smells and then rubs his genitals with these and may ejaculate over these. He may even use shoes as an artificial vagina and ejaculate inside. He may even ejaculate by looking at the fetish or during the act of stealing the fetish. A fetishist may commit theft or robbery or snatching to get the fetish, or he may get caught by people or police, leading to beating, leading to MLC and leading may be punished. Sexual gratification by body part, also known as partialism, is a type of paraphilia. The person obtains sexual arousal from a particular part of the body other than the genitals. Individuals with partialism sometimes describe the anatomy of interest to them as having equal or greater erotic attraction for them as do the genitals. Types of partialism based on the area of interest. Podophilia, foot, MC type of partialism. Trichophilia, hair. Nasophilia, nose. Masophilia, breast. Maschalagnia, armpit. Alvinophilia, navel. Pygophilia, buttocks. Others with some area of interest to lip, hand, leg, ear, neck, eye, belly are also known. In DSM-4, partialism was considered a separate paraphilia not otherwise specified, but in DSM-5 it has merged into fetishistic disorder because it causes significant psychosocial distress for the person or has a detrimental effect on important area of their life. MLI, a male person with paraphilic disorder may be attracted towards a minor girl, and if he touches private parts, that is labia majora, he may be prosecuted for committing rape. MLA, it is commonly observed among sexual offenders. Fetishism is not considered a criminal behavior unless it is accompanied with theft or robbery or assault. Sometimes he may attack the woman to only get the fetish, but he may exceed to commit sexual assault. A fetishist may need psychiatric treatment and psychological counseling. Frotteurism, frotter, to rub, or toucherism. Person obtains sexual gratification by touching and rubbing his private parts against the body of opposite sex in the crowd, in bus or in a train. MLA. According to section 290 of IPC, public nuisance, it is punishable with only a fine of 200, but if he repeats the sin, then punishment is 6 months or fine or both. As per 354 IPC, punishment is 1 to 5 years less fine. Pedophilia or pedasty. It means sex with children. It may also include sodomy. When passive agent is sodomy is a child, then the child is called catamite. Pedophile is an adult, usually male, who repeatedly engages in sexual activism with children. A pedophile enjoys by looking at a child undressing, oral genital contact, rubbing of penis in thighs, masturbating in front of a child. He may have oral, anal or vaginal sex. MLA, a pedophile may commit sexual offence for which he may be punished as per POCSO Act under 375, 376 and 376A IPC. Some other paraphilias. Acrotomophilia is a sexual interest in amputee. Apotemnophilia, when someone develops a sexual fixation in becoming amputees themselves. In rare cases, people with this paraphilia actually arrange elective surgery to have limbs removed. Bagpiping or playing the bagpipes, intercourse through armpit or axilia. Coprophilia or coprolagnia, sexual gratification, smell of faces or watching the act of defecation. Ecotourism, sexual gratification by hearing sounds of others produced during intercourse or love making. Heberphilia, sexual attraction of an adult to prepubescent adolescent 11 to 14 years. Ephebophilia, sexual attraction of an adult to post-pubescent adolescent 15 to 19 years. Erotographomania, obtaining sexual gratification by obscene writing. Fisting or handballing, sexual activity in which fist is inserted into the vagina or rectum. Silent duck or a duck billing means beak-like shape formed by uniting all 5 fingers of the hand and used in initial stages of fisting. Gerontophilia, sex with old people. Infantilism, the person who obtains sexual gratification by behaving like an infant or even wearing a diaper. He enjoys having his partner change the diaper, apply baby powder and sucking milk from an infant bottle. Clismaphilia, sexual arousal by giving or receiving enema. Masturbation, also known as ipsation or onanism, is a sexual stimulation of one's own genitalia for sexual arousal or sexual pleasure. A male masturbates either manually by gripping or sliding the foreskin rhythmically to and fro by hand or by rubbing penis against the bed pillows. Female masturbates either manually, moving 3 fingers gently and rhythmically over clitoris, or by inserting banana, dildo or electrical vibrator. Masturbation is done in private, usually up to orgasm. MLI, masturbation does not cause any harm to the body and even it is considered healthy for mental and physical health. Masturbation has been mentioned in a big sexual problem by Hakims and Wives. It is very common to see the name and address of the nearest Hakim on the boundary walls in big latrines, highways, bazaars, and in the small towns and villages. If masturbation is privately done, it is not an offence. If it is done in public, it may be punished under 268 IPC, 290 IPC for public nuisance, 294 IPC for obscene act, or under 509 IPC for gesture or act intended to insult the modesty of woman. Masturbation may be used as a method to obtain semen for artificial insemination or in vitro fertilization. Origin of term onanism. In biblical times, under Jewish law, a brother was required to procreate with his brother's widow. Onan of Judah refused to do so and he ejaculated on the ground. Onanism is also known as sin of the onan. Mysophilia, sexual gratification by filth. Microscopic bestials, sexual arousal by watching intercourse between a person and an animal. Narcissism, self-love. Narratophilia, sexual stimulation by reading erotic literature. Pygmalionism, person achieves sexual gratification by watching or handling nude statues or dolls of opposite sex. Pornographomania, collecting, viewing pornographic material. Satyriasis is excessive sexual desire in males and nymphomania in excessive sexual desire in females. Scatologia, making obscene phone calls. Coprolalia, sexual arousal by making obscene telephone calls or by talking with a person of opposite sex in obscene language. Troialism or triolism, menage a trios, sexual intercourse between 3 people, 2 male, 1 female, 1 male and 2 female. A person who shares his wife with another male and observes the sexual act from a hidden place. Undinism, urolagnia, urophilia or water sports. Urine and lust, sexual gratification is achieved with sight or thought or smell of urine or watching the act of urination. Golden shower is slang for the practice of urinating on another person for sexual pleasure. Urine may be consumed or the person may take bath in it. Omarashi is an act of holding one's own urine until the need to urinate is urgent or watching another person with an urgent need to urinate. Predominantly recognized in Japan. Chuck berry, American musician who was featured urinating on a woman in a sex tape and was sued for videotaping dozens of women in the bathroom of a restaurant he owned. Ricky Martin, a Puerto Rican singer, in an interview with Blender magazine stated that he enjoyed giving the golden shower. Uranism is an older and rare term for homosexuality, especially for male. Sexual gratification is achieved by fingering, fondling, licking the genitals of the same-sex partner. Ulrich coined the term Uranism or Uranian. Zoophilia, emotional, sexual attraction to animals. Sexual gratification by fondling animals. The involved person are known as zoophiles or zoos. The term zoophilia was introduced in 1886. In Psychopathia Sexualis, DSM-5 classifies zoophilia as other specified paraphilia disorders. Some others. Bobbitt syndrome. Female partner amputates the penis of her male partner. John Wayne Bobbitt. Husband married Loria Bobbitt. On night of 23rd June 1993, John allegedly intoxicated Lorena and raped her. She went to the kitchen, took a knife and cut his penis. Then she went through his car, threw his penis into a field. Realizing the severity of the incident, she stopped and called the police. After a search, penis was located, packed in ice, taken to hospital where John was being treated. Penis was surgically reattached by Dr. James T. Sen and David Berman in a 9.5-hour operation. Lorena was found not guilty due to insanity causing an irresistible impulse to sexually wound her husband. 1995, after 6 years of marriage, John formed a band, the Severity Parts. MLI accused may be punished for causing grievous hurt, Section 320 IPC. Fornication or fornication, consensual sexual intercourse between two persons not married to each other. G-spot, G means Ernst Grafenberg. It is a sensitive area, rich plexus of nerves within anterior vaginal wall along the course of urethra, halfway between back of pubic bone and cervix. U-spot is just above and on the other side of the urethral opening. A-spot is anterior fornix between cervix and bladder. Sex-linked disorders. Sex-linked disorders include the following: indecent assault, Section 354 IPC, sexual harassment, 354A IPC, assault or criminal force to a woman with an intent to disrobe or compelling her to be naked, 354B IPC, punishment 3 years plus fine. Voyeurism, 354C IPC, a man watches or captures the image of a woman engaging in a private act, punishment 1 to 3 years plus fine for the first conviction, 3 to 7 years plus fine for repeaters. Stalking, 354D IPC, a person 1 follows the woman or contact or attempt to contact her despite a clear indication of disinterest by such woman. 2. Monitors, that is watches the use by a woman of electronic communication, mobile, internet, WhatsApp, Facebook, email. Punishment 3 years plus fine, if repeated 5 years plus fine. Indecent assault, 354 IPC, it is defined as an assault or a criminal force to a woman with an intent to outrage her modesty. Modesty is keeping within measures, means the quality in women of dressing or behaving in a way which intend to avoid the encouraging of sexual attraction in others. In simple words, indecent assault means any unwanted sexual misbehavior. For example, intentional touching on the parts of body, buttocks, breasts, thighs of a person in a sexual manner against the will of that person. It is a cognizable and non-bailable offence, punishment 1 to 5 years plus fine. Often the acts are intended to insult a person or to embarrass the victim. Other sections of IPC similar to 354 IPC are 509 IPC, 294 IPC. 509 IPC, whoever utters any word, makes any sound, makes a gesture or exhibits any object with intention to insult the modesty of a woman shall be punished with punishment 3 years plus fine. Section 294 IPC, obscene acts and obscene songs in public, punishment is 3 months or fine or both. In a tabular form, Section 354 IPC, two important things are as follows: assault and criminal force, intention to outrage modesty of a woman. Section 509 IPC, two important things: no assault and criminal force, only words, sound, gesture or exhibition of any object, intention to insult modesty of a woman. The term outrage is much stronger than insult. Term outrage implies gross infringement of morality and decency, gross violation of others' rights. Term insult implies an act or a speech means to hurt the feelings or self-respect of others. Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment has been mentioned at three places: 354A IPC, POXO Act, and SHWWPRR PPR Act. 354A defines SH, sexual harassment, and prescribes punishment for it. Sexual harassment includes any of the following four acts: mnemonics, PDSM. 1P, physical contact. D, demand for sexual favor. Showing porno against the will. Making sexually colored remarks. P, punishment is 3 years, fine or both. For clauses 1 to 3, punishment is 1 year or fine or both for the clause 4. POXO Act, section 11 defines sexual harassment of children. Section 12 prescribes punishment for offender as 3 years and fine. Sexual harassment of women at workplace, Prevention of Prohibition and Redressal Act deals with sexual harassment. Section 2N includes any of the following four acts: unwelcome act or behavior, that is physical contact; demand or request for sexual favor; making sexually colored remarks; showing pornography; any other unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal conduct. Redressal of complaints of SH at workplace, that is educational, institute, hospital, organization, officers. Complaints of SH are looked into by a LCC, Local Complaints Committee, if less than 10 workers are working at a workplace. ICC, Internal Complaints Committee, if more than 10 workers are working at a workplace. A complaint of SH can be filed within a time limit of 3 months, but it may extend to another 3 months if the woman proves that the grave circumstances prevented her from doing the same. The committee is required to complete the inquiry within 90 days, leading to a report to send the employer or district officer, leading to an action must be taken within 60 days. Penalty for employer: fine 50,000 rupees. On repetition, license of the employer may be revoked. Then Vishaka case. Vishaka and others versus State of Rajasthan, 22nd September 1992 at 6 p.m. Bhavari Devi, a social worker in Rajasthan, was brutally gang raped by a number of upper class men because she had tried to stop a child marriage. After this case, Vishaka and other women groups filed PIL to enforce the fundamental rights of working women under Article 14, 19, 21 of Constitution of India. Supreme Court in its judgment proposed guidelines in 1997 to remove the problem of sexual harassment at workplace. Then in 2013, Sexual Harassment at Workplace Prevention Regulation Act 2013 was enacted and Section 354A was inserted in IPC. Film Bhavandar is based on Bhavari Devi's story.